Hello, codegurus. Welcome back to another session on serverless authentication in depth using AWS Amplify and Quasar framework. So, what will be the important takeaway from this course? So, the first and foremost is we will be using AWS Amplify CLI and create our authentication backend in AWS. So, once we are done with that, we will explore the concepts of user groups and start creating various user groups for different category of users. Once we are done with that, then we will look at a further concept of how to enable multi-factor authentication for all our users. So once we are done with that MFA concept, next we will also explore how to add social login like Facebook, Google, and Amazon to our web application in this course. And finally, parallelly, while we are dealing with all these backend concepts, we will also create our user interface in our Quasar framework using various Quasar components which are available for us readily. All right, before we proceed further, please do consider supporting us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/codeguru. All right, then, let's get started. So first, we will proceed to our command prompt and see how to create a authentication backend. So let's proceed to our command. So now, the first foremost over here is, I'm assuming you have already seen two other videos like how to create your Quasar project and enabling Amplify on your Quasar project. So if you haven't seen those two videos, in the description below, I will be linking those, providing those links to those videos. So please do consider viewing those videos just in case if you want to create a new Quasar project and add Amplify support to that Quasar project. So as of now, so the present state of our application is we have already created a Quasar project, and then we also added Amplify support to that project. So now let's go ahead and see how do we go ahead and create our backend for this application. So authentication backend. So all you have to do is just simply say amplify, add, and say auth. So now this command will go ahead and create our authentication backend. So don't worry, we will see what it is doing behind the scenes in another couple of minutes. So just click on enter. So what this internally does is, before that, it actually asks us a couple of questions. So since we are just getting started, so what I'll do is I'll just go ahead with the default configuration. Now, once you say default configuration, the next important question which it will be asking us is, how do you want to sign in your users? Either you want to provide them a user name, like a custom string, or you want your users to use email to log into your application, or you want your users to use their phone numbers and log in. So if you say email and phone number, what it does is it will allow your users to either use their email address or their mobile or phone number to log into your web application. So for our application, I want to provide both the functionalities. So I'll just go ahead and say email and phone number. And the next immediate question would be like, do you want to go ahead and do some other additional changes? So since we are getting started, I just want to stick to the basics or whatever the out-of-the-box features which your Amplify provides us. So I'll just go ahead and say, no, I'm done over here. So once this is done, your Amplify CLI will go ahead and create a CloudFormation template for us. So with all the default configuration which you have chosen. So it has created all those configurations behind the scenes and it has added to our project. So if you want to see what it has done, just say git status. So here you could see it has created a new folder called as backend/auth. That's where all your authentication magic would be there. So we will go ahead and explore that. So before that, what I'll do is you just need to go ahead and say amplify space push. So what this does is your Amplify CLI will go ahead and connect to your AWS and start creating your authentication backend. So now, before we go ahead and see further, let's go to our editor and see what it has actually done behind the scenes. So over here, so before we go ahead and see that, so it says, are you sure you want to continue? Yes, I want to go ahead and create our authentication backend. So here it'll just says now updating your resources in the cloud. That means it started doing some work behind the scenes. Don't worry, I'll go ahead and show you what this has done behind the scenes. So just give me a couple of minutes. So now let's go back to our editor. So now, as I said earlier, under the Amplify folder, it has created backend, and now it has created one more folder called as auth. So Amplify has various features like authentication. You can even create API. So they call it as categories. So authentication is one category. So for each category under the backend, it creates a corresponding subfolder for us. So now, as I said earlier, so it has created a CloudFormation template based on the features which we have asked it to do. So it has went with all the default policies over here. So if you are doing it by yourself, all this CloudFormation template has you need to handcraft this entire big CloudFormation template. So AWS Amplify really makes things easy for us. So just give it a couple of minutes. So what it's doing is behind the scenes. Now it is using your CloudFormation engine and trying to create various resources. Now till now, I have been just saying it as authentication backend. But what really is happening behind the scenes? So for that, let's go back to our AWS console. So now here, Amazon provides something called as AWS Cognito. So just go to this Cognito. So this is the service which we are using to create a serverless authentication backend. So here they have a concept called as user pools and identity pools. So don't worry about that. So this is the service, which is actually a managed service. So all your user management is actually provided by this service for us. So now whenever you say user pools, if you are like aware of the existing concept like your Active Directory, so more or less user pools are like your user directory. So it contains information about your users. So just give it a couple of minutes. So till your CloudFormation gets executed. So I'm assuming it should have done by this now. So yes, so here you could see our codeguru connection pool has been, user pool has been created. So just go ahead. So this is what is going to be our authentication backend. So over here, if you see, we have something called as users and groups. So all the users who are signing up for your application, you can see those users over here. In future, if you create groups, we will be able to see various groups over here. So in short, I can say your user pools are nothing but a managed Active Directory service for you, made easy. So you need not worry about provisioning the directory servers and maintaining it, patching it, and worrying about all the security things. So AWS Cognito is actually, I can say, a very feature-rich service from AWS. So now over here, before we go further, so I just actually wanted you to go through this, how this user pool looks like, or how this Cognito service, what are the different things. So as I said to you earlier, so here, this is a section where you could see all your users and groups. And what are your attributes? So while signing up, you can ask users to provide further information like their address or date of birth or some other custom fields. So those custom fields are called as attributes inside your AWS Cognito. So from now onwards, whenever I'm saying serverless authentication backend, I'm actually referring to AWS Cognito service. So your attributes are nothing but your additional fields of data which you want to store for that particular user. Next is your policies. So let's say, like for example, when a user is signing up onto your website, you want to create a policy for your password. Let's say like mandatorily I want the user to enter 8 characters. Let's say if I want the user to have a number, a special character, uppercase or lowercase in their password which they are choosing for my application, then I can go ahead and configure these policies over here. Next, again, as I said earlier, we will be looking at MFA. So by default, your multi-factor authentication is disabled. So over here, we will go back and see how we go ahead and enable that thing in our future videos. Next, there are some advanced securities. So let's say we will deal that thing at a later stage. Next, we have something called as message customization. So what do you mean by message customization? So whenever a user signs up with your application or your AWS Cognito, he is actually sent an email for confirming his email address. So if you want to customize those messages either through SMS or through email, this is the place where you can go ahead and do that. And next we have something called as app clients. So this is where these are the credentials which we will be using and configuring our application behind the scenes. Not only that, it has one more very important feature called as triggers. Let's say you want to do some customized business, or you want to execute some custom business logic. So these triggers are provided by your Cognito. So what it does is, let's say you want to do some kind of verification, or you want to log something into your analytics service. You can use a pre-sign up. You can even use, there are like a number of possibilities where these triggers can be invoked. So all it does is, behind the scenes, it gives you a flexibility to invoke a Lambda function. So there is another service under AWS called as AWS Lambda, which is a serverless way of executing some business logic. So not only that, if you see over here this federation and identity providers, so this is the place where this federation is the place where we will go ahead and configure our social login with your Facebook, Google, and Amazon. So as of now, you could see your Cognito supports actually like 6 different things, but your Amplify CLI at this point of time just supports 3 social logins. So just stay tuned for that. So that's actually your Amplify guys still need to implement that feature. So maybe in future, they're actually moving pretty fast. So I'm assuming that feature should come very soon. And finally, this attribute mapping. So this attribute mapping, we will be coming back and looking at it. So when we enable our social providers, so let's say you want to sync their email address with certain custom field or certain attributes over here, you could do that attribute mapping over here. So I hope I have provided you a brief introduction on what is this Cognito, what are the different functionalities it has. So we have just seen at a high level. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If yes, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking our channel logo over here and clicking the bell icon in order to get instant notifications from our channel. And not only that, so we are now even available on Twitter at codeguru_io, and we are available on Facebook at codeguru.io. So please do consider signing up on those social websites. Thank you.